Shane Warne. Just saying the name was enough to make batsmen sweat, fumble, and question every shot they have ever played. One of the greatest bowlers cricket has ever seen. A spinner so devastating that the best batsman in the world could crumble. And by the time he retired, Warne had taken 708 test wickets at 25.41, including a staggering 195 against England alone. His leg spin wasn't just bowling, it was art, science, and pure terror wrapped in a twirling cricket ball. But of course, he wasn't this terrifying from day one. When Shane Warne arrived in England for the 1993 Ashes, he was just a 23-year-old with a modest record and no real reputation. Critics yawned. England did not know him. And if you ask the players, they probably would have shrugged. Mike Atherton later admitted, "My memories are that we knew very little about him beforehand. There certainly wasn't a sense of threat about Warne before the series." And honestly, who could blame them? After 11 tests, Warne had only 31 wickets at 30.8. Respectable, but hardly headline-grabbing. Sure, he had a decent summer against the West Indies and New Zealand, but nothing screamed future legend. Leg spin itself was considered a dying art, something to be admired over tea, not feared on the field. Fred Truman was brutally honest. "I'm just back from Australia and I can tell you, their selectors have made England a gift of the Ashes. Spinners Tim May and Shane Warne are not going to make England grovel the way Indians did. So there should be a feast of runs for Gooch, Hick and Gower." Yeah, about that feast, England were about to starve. But before that, even the tour game seemed to mock Warne's impending greatness. Graham Hick hammered him for 187, including 4 sixes in 10 balls in a warm-up game at Worcester. To onlookers, it looked like Warne might be just another leg spinner getting smacked around. But Border had a secret instruction. Bowl leg spin, keep the variation secret. And that tiny nugget would soon become England's nightmare. English captain Graham Gooch won the toss and opted to bowl, hoping the pitch might give them an early advantage. Mark Taylor didn't get the memo. He calmly went about his business and scored a century. Yet Australia still ended up all out for a moderate 289. England began their reply with some promise, reaching 71 before Mike Atherton fell to Merv Hughes. Then came Mike Gatting, the man supposedly unflappable against spin. Australia's captain Alan Border turned to Warne. England laughed, a decision that would haunt them for decades. And then, on his very first ball in England, the magic happened. Warne strolled in with a slow run-up, just a few paces. He rolled his right arm over and delivered a leg break to Gatting. The ball started straight down the pitch towards the batsman. And then, magic. Slowly, almost mischievously, it drifted to the right, inches outside Gatting's leg stump. Gatting did everything right, or what he thought was right. Stepping forward, bat angled, defense perfect. Except, the ball hit a worn patch of pitch. Friction amplified the spin. The ball curved violently, past the outside edge, and clipped the top of Gatting's off stump, dislodging the base. Gatting was frozen, shocked, confused, slightly humiliated. England collectively blinked and wondered if they had just seen a ghost in cricket whites. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the ball of the century. Pure magic. The story of Warne's debut Ashes series is usually told in one ball. It has its own Wikipedia page, its own song, and its own mythology. But the full tale of Warne's 1993 Ashes is a little more epic, almost Homeric. It's written in 2,639 deliveries, the most ever bowled in a test series, during which Warne quietly etched fear and awe into the minds of every English batsman. If the ball of the century was a killer lead single, the rest of the album was a subtle masterpiece. After Gatting fell, England were reeling at 80 for 2. And just 4 runs later, Robin Smith was undone by a delivery similar to Gatting's. Warne's first spell ended with 3 for 14 from 9 overs, and by the close, England had crumbled to 202 for 8, losing 8 wickets for just 122 runs. Robin Smith himself said, "I faced some of the fastest bowlers in history, but Warne was the one bowler who really intimidated me. Clark might knock me out, Warne would just get me out." And that's the thing. Warne didn't need pace to terrify batsmen. He needed mind, skill, and a healthy dose of psychological torture. England's coach Keith Fletcher tried to downplay it, calling the pitch rogue and claiming, Warne won't turn it so much elsewhere. Cute. Almost charming. Really. But nobody knew Warne's true potential. Bowling round the wicket, exploiting the blind spot behind the batsman, and creating prodigious turn and drift from seemingly nothing. He finished the Lord's Test by bowling Peter Such and Phil Tufnell behind the legs, repeating the feat to Graham Gooch at Edgbaston. And by the time he was done, the English batsmen were left bewildered, flummoxed, and yes, slightly humiliated. Grant Thorpe, one of the few England batsmen to make a century, said he had never seen anyone drift the ball like Warne. England had faced Mushtaq Ahmed and Anil Kumble before, but Warne was a different breed altogether. Some batsmen struggled to read his variations, while others didn't even realize what had hit them. Matthew Maynard, for example, while facing Warne's flipper for the first time, later described it as seeing a 5-leg cat appear mid-pitch. Catting, completely unrecognizable as the calm, composed batsman they thought they knew. Even the sharpest minds Atherton and Stewart agreed. Warne was the smartest bowler they had ever faced. Warne's ability to plan dismissals was already apparent in 1993. In the first test at Edgbaston, at the end of the third day, he outlined a plan to Alan Border to bowl Gooch round his legs. Border was unsure, but allowed it. The next day, it happened exactly as Warne predicted, and he ran to Border, shouting, "I told you." He dismissed Gooch 5 times in the series, more than any other batsman. Warne conceded just 1.99 runs per over and bowled 178 maidens, more than double of any other series in his career. That's the slowest, most patient torture you could imagine. Loose deliveries were rare, but when he did bowl one, his personality alone turned it into a wicket. Gooch curved a long hop to mid-wicket at Old Trafford, and Stewart slapped a full toss at Trent Bridge. He controlled the game, the batsmen, and their minds. Robin Smith admitted, he tormented with demons that didn't even exist. He barely said a word, but the way he looked at me unsettled me. Some mystery spinners are one-hit wonders, but by the end of the 1993 Ashes, when Australia had won 4-1 and Warne had taken 34 wickets at 25.79 in 6 tests, it was clear England were dealing with a potential all-time great. For decades, Warne continued to torment English batsmen, haunting every crease, exploiting every weakness, and redefining how a leg spin could dominate even the finest players. In total, across 36 tests between 1993 and 2007, Warne claimed 195 wickets against England at 23.25, turning every Ashes series into a masterclass in fear, deception, and artistry. This series marked the dawn of Australia's dominance and the rise of Shane Warne's era. Warne didn't just terrorize England, he resurrected spin bowling worldwide. Before him, spin was often considered secondary, something to support fast bowlers. But Warne turned it into the main event, inspiring spinners across continents. From India's Kuldeep Yadav to England's Adil Rashid, his fingerprints are everywhere. Young spinners learned that deception, flight, drift, and psychological warfare mattered more than sheer speed. Warne's subtle variations could change the course of a match, and his mastery reshaped cricket strategy across the world. New legends rose in his image, and batsmen everywhere were forced to relearn how to face a leg spinner. So next time you watch a leg spinner drift one past the outside edge, remember where it all began. A 23-year-old walking onto Old Trafford in 1993, rolling his right arm over and showing the world that spin bowling wasn't just an art. It was terror, beauty, and magic, all at once. Shane Warne didn't just bowl, he changed the game forever. And for England, he became a nightmare that lasted decades. So guys, that's it for today's video. If you want to see how Adam Gilchrist absolutely demolished England in the 2007 Ashes, click on the video being displayed on your screen.